Our story opens with Hirosen, the most popular girl in class. Representing the class muse, she instantly captivated one particular boy the moment he set eyes on her. Unable to restrain his growing feelings any longer as the emotions overwhelmed him, he acted before fully processing his actions. Heart pounding violently in his chest, he slipped a romantic note right inside her personal locker. That seemed like his only chance to finally confess his true affections to her. Unfortunately, his desperate attempt at romance resulted in an immediate rejection. By the very next morning, the bad news arrived courtesy of Hiroi-san's close friend. Approaching him with a heavy, serious expression, the girl pulled out the exact letter he had composed. She candidly explained that such sudden declarations made Hiroi feel extremely uncomfortable. Left crushed, he sat alone inside the quiet, vacant room. He desperately tried convincing himself that this outcome was entirely predictable from the start. After all, she reigned as the class muse, widely idolized by everybody around. Meanwhile, he viewed himself as just an ordinary bench warmer on their school's baseball squad, completely insignificant. He never truly believed she would even register his presence in the first place. Yet, despite acknowledging those harsh realities, the painful sting of rejection burned just as deeply. Right then, he caught sight of her strolling past the window alongside her group. His heart sank with unbearable anguish upon spotting her, while a single name echoed endlessly through his mind: Hiroi-san. Out of nowhere, Hiroi-san's friend marched back inside and forcefully slammed her palm onto his desk. She demanded an explanation for why he was still moping instead of moving past the rejection. Branding him completely pathetic, she ordered him to stop staring at her friend with those tearful eyes. The boy, Sanaki, could merely murmur that he understood, calling the girl by her name, Ichizono. Seeking a quick exit from the awkward encounter, Sanaki gathered up his belongings to head home. He gave his word that he wouldn't bother Hirohi-san ever again. Ichizono stood motionless, quietly observing him hurry toward the exit of the classroom. To his sudden surprise, Ichizono called out to him, commanding him to hold on. She proceeded to mock his strategy, claiming that delivering a love note was far too soft and passive. If he truly wanted to win a girl's heart, he should have approached her boldly, like a real man. Saki stood bewildered, arguing that taking such an aggressive approach would have gotten him arrested on the spot. He attempted to justify his method, stressing how much thought and care he put into crafting that message. Ichizono then dropped a reality check. Hiyoi hadn't even bothered reading his note. She revealed that he had been turned down without a second thought, and accepting that reality would help him move past it faster. She then began listing every single flaw she perceived in him. His messy hair, his wardrobe, and even his short stature were brutally criticized. She complained about how he constantly repeated the exact same stories, his poor academic performance, and his cluttered desk. His overly loud tone around friends, his awkward behavior near girls, and even his clumsy grip on chopsticks were pointed out as major defects. That endless stream of faults left poor Sanaki standing completely stunned under her harsh verbal barrage. After venting that entire list, Ichizono abruptly paused, looking as though she had lost her train of thought. She clumsily tried remembering what point they were even discussing a moment prior. Then, wearing a slight grin, she concluded it was completely natural for someone like him to get rejected, so he shouldn't stress over it. Finally reaching his absolute limit, Saki snapped and burst out in a frustrated cry of pure misery. Turning toward her in total annoyance, he demanded to know why she felt the need to attack him so harshly. Ichizono appeared genuinely baffled by his intense reaction, maintaining that she was simply trying to cheer him up. She promptly added his sudden temper to the list of flaws, confessing she only intervened because she felt somewhat responsible. Sanaki attempted to compose himself, accepting that he couldn't change the fact that his letter went unread. With tears welling up in his eyes, he revealed the true source of his pain. Hiwei didn't need to send a messenger to turn him down. If it was going to end in heartbreak anyway, he wished she had faced him directly. Ichizono, irritated at the sight of his tears once more, suddenly seemed to spark an idea. She declared that if he felt so bitter about it, he ought to prove his worth and outshine Hiyoi herself. Pointing directly at him with fierce conviction, she shouted that he needed to make Hiyoi regret ever turning him down. The objective was to force her into wishing she had accepted that original love letter. However, Tsunanaki remained visibly perplexed, wondering how he could possibly accomplish such a massive feat. That was when Ichizono suggested a clear plan, remembering his status on the baseball roster. Since Hiroi admired athletic guys, he simply needed to train hard and showcase an impressive performance during upcoming games. Tsunanaki reflexively made excuses, insisting he was just a substitute player and that putting in all that work purely out of vengeance felt wrong. She aggressively cut him off, yelling that she didn't care about his excuses and warning that such passive thinking would keep him a loser forever. She then quietly admitted that Hiroi had indeed acted insincerely toward him. But as she turned to leave, she delivered one final harsh truth, remarking that a spineless guy like him wasn't even worth a proper rejection. Her blunt words pierced him deeply. In that exact moment, he finally recognized just how pitifully he had been behaving all along. From that single day onward, a massive transformation ignited inside him. He threw himself into baseball training with an unprecedented level of drive and raw intensity. His fellow teammates watched in absolute astonishment at the sudden change. They questioned how a player who used to struggle so badly was suddenly putting in such intense effort. Seeing the burning fire in his eyes, one teammate accurately deduced the situation. It seemed almost as if Tsunaki had someone specific he desperately wanted to prove wrong. Tsunaki's dedication grew so extreme that he destroyed every spare ball available during practice sessions. The head coach eventually took notice of the boy who persistently pushed himself beyond limits. He refused to quit even during heavy rain, running laps relentlessly while displaying remarkable grit. His teammates watched in admiration, though they privately doubted whether he could maintain such a frantic pace for long. Yet his relentless effort quickly yielded results. He started delivering game-winning plays out on the field. His teammates began viewing him as a key asset, even joking that he was thriving by following their advice, completely unaware that he had a hidden fan watching from afar. Concealed behind the perimeter fence, Ichizono tracked his rapid progress with intense focus. Then arrived the pivotal moment, the day of their biggest match. Tsunaki stepped into the batter's box and, channeling every ounce of power, delivered a flawless hit. The entire stadium erupted in wild celebration. Up in the stands, Hioi cheered with frantic enthusiasm, totally captivated by his incredible display. Standing right beside her, Ichizono stared in absolute shock, unable to comprehend the play she just witnessed. That brilliant hit effectively clinched the team's ultimate victory. His teammates welcomed him back like a hero, showering him with praise for securing the game-winning point. The team captain was already looking ahead to future matches, thrilled about the chance to avenge last year's bitter loss. Tsunaki expressed his gratitude while offering a brief apology. He pledged to keep giving his all, though his internal motivation remained entirely different. The individual he truly sought to surpass wasn't the opposing squad at all. Shortly after the match concluded, Ichizono reappeared directly in front of Tsunaki. Holding a noticeable grin, she presented him with a letter, explaining it was a personal gift straight from Hiroi. Tsunaki froze on the spot, completely rendered speechless. She clarified that it resembled a fan letter far more than a romantic confession, congratulating him on his rapid success. With a triumphant look, she asked whether he felt satisfied with himself now. After all, he had accomplished his objective and exacted his revenge in the most spectacular fashion imaginable. She noted that he could now date practically anyone he desired, even offering to handle rejecting Hiroi on his behalf if he wanted. Tsunaki, however, looked visibly flustered and attempted to clarify that gaining popularity was never his primary reason for training so hard. Ichizono burst out laughing at his claim, insisting he couldn't deceive her. She proudly stated that she recognized his true motives all along. His core drive was simply to get back at Hioi. Observing his flustered reaction, Ichizono turned to walk away, advising him to take a few days to think before making any major choices. She mentioned he earned that breathing room, but with one last backward glance, she reminded him to act like a real man next time and avoid sending letters ever again. As it turned out, he required no words to deliver his response. Taking her advice to heart, he finally took action like a real man. In a single swift and confident movement, he wrapped his arms around her from behind. Ichizono froze entirely in place, her eyes widening in pure shock. Rendered speechless, she called him a complete idiot while her face flushed a deep crimson. She attempted to argue that he was mistaken, insisting he was going after the wrong girl, yet he held his grip firm, now in complete control of the moment. He declared that he would only release her on a single condition. She had to finally admit that he was cool. She teased him with one final playful challenge. With their faces positioned inches apart, she planted a soft kiss on his cheek. She then explained the practical logic behind her move. If he refused to let go, she wouldn't be able to turn around and kiss him properly. At that exact moment, somewhere nearby, a mutual friend was completely forgotten. Ichizono delivered one last teasing remark, wearing a triumphantly victorious smile.